The Tuskegee Airmen have a National Historic facility not far from here, where the original Tuskegee Airmen had a flying field during the Second World War. So we're going to hear from the third generation Tuskegee Airman, Major Cecil Davis, U.S. Air Force retired. He's going to give us a little personalized story of himself, Tuskegee Airman, and his experiences. Just like last night that Barbara went through. So instead of reading it in a book, you'll be able to meet people who lived the reality and made their mark in the world. So it's my pleasure to introduce you.
Thank you so much. Oh, you bet. You got it. Okay. Hey, how's everybody doing? That's great. You know, this is the rotunda of the George Martin Murray Washington Hall, which is Booker T. Washington's fourth wife. So people says, oh, okay, a little scandal there. No, it's just a sign of the times. But anyway, so just want to let you know that's what it's named after. I have to be very careful about speaking in the rotunda, because one thing you'll learn about, if you're ever in the rotunda, don't go whispering something to your buddy, because the person across the rotunda can hear you. It's just the way the echo pattern goes, so you really have to be careful. That's just a little tidbit. It has nothing to do with my presentation. Again, I'm Cecil Davis. I'm not originally from Tuskegee, Alabama. My home is Dayton, Ohio. Okay, so I'm from Dayton, Ohio, so I'm up north, y'all. Okay, but I'm living down south. If you watch the Weather Channel, you've seen the weather, y'all from New York, you know why I'm living down south, right? So contrary to popular opinion, like life's good down the south. A lot of people reflect on some things about the south. Oh, this is a terrible place. No, it really isn't. There was a time. And if you want to go off looking for some of the bad things, you can find that. But let me quickly just touch on my background. I did make it through 20 years in the Air Force. I was involved in aviation and flying. My primary airplane that I was affiliated with was the B-52 bomber. Some of you all will know about that. What's the primary mission over time of the B-52 bomber? What sort of weapons did they carry? Okay, that's okay, because your generation, you probably wouldn't know this. That airplane's been around for over 50, almost approaching 60 years. The primary responsibility of the B-52 bomber was to carry nuclear weapons. You know, and we were lined up in case the former Soviet Union, a lot of people, of course, you know it as Russia, but it wasn't. It was the Soviet Union, which was a lot bigger than Russia. We were armed to take them on if they flag everyone up and went to nuclear war. But now, let me tell you quickly about my background. I grew up in the projects of West Dayton, Ohio. These are when my parents finished high school. It wasn't that they were hanging out at the mall. There were no malls back then. It's just that it was time to go to work. So my dad, he never finished 9th grade. Mom never finished 11th grade. So how'd that come along? Well, it's a little thing, even though growing up in the projects, I always was a reader. I read everything. And I just didn't want to follow the same mold that everyone wanted me to follow, hang out in the streets, go hip hop, do whatever, be counterculture. That never really amazed me or, excited me at all. I just want to let y'all know that. But as I was growing up, I had a lot of influences. One thing, if you don't get anything outside of my presentation, I want you to remember, like I have, you've had called on from time to time. How many of y'all ever heard of, I call her Queen Mother, Maya Angelou? You know, one of the best poems, probably the most famous poem she ever did was Still I Rise. Okay, that was my motto, personally. And that got me through a lot of things, because like I say again, when I came along, we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s, and all you heard about the Jim Crow South and this, that, and the other thing, terrible, how terrible it was. A lot of that had gone away cosmetically. You couldn't walk down the street and see it, but it was still there. And it affected me when I was in the military. But how did I get from being in the projects, parents not even going to finish high school? It was, I grew up in the Home Reports Project. So two types of guys in the Home Reports Projects. People who were in trouble with the law, and people who were going to get in trouble with the law. There was no escaping it. and I was no different. But, and like I say, I refer a lot to the Almighty, you know, in our various forms of, you know, religion. We acknowledge there is an Almighty force out there, and I certainly acknowledge that because He certainly directed me, for sure. I did get in trouble with the law, but I was able to get a full scholarship to go to a place y'all probably never heard of called Howard University in DC. I got a full academic scholarship. The reason why that happened, the juvenile court psychologist, who was a white guy, he's from LaFountain, Indiana, one of the most prejudiced towns in the nation. He kept telling me, he said, you seem like the rest of them knuckleheads over in the projects. And I said, wow, that's one of the kindest things anyone ever said to me. But anyway, he gave me a test. How many of y'all ever heard of Mensa? Society of Mensa? Yeah, he found out that, yeah, I was a member of Society of Mensa. So, you know, this is something that I just pass along so you can encourage yourself. Check yourself out, because a lot of you are smart. You are very smart. Some of you don't know how smart you are. I tested Western Adult Intelligence Scale, and my scale of reading was 170. Some people said 170. Keep in mind, Western Adult Intelligence Scale, the highest score in there was 150. So you said, well, how do you get 170? They extrapolated. Because I asked somebody about that, psychologist. He said, how old were you when you took it, 16? He said, that is possible. So anyway, I took that gift, and I just kept on giving back, seeing how far I can go. Went off to aviation training in the Air Force. I got cleared, you know, for aviation. I ended up with 2,400 flying hours in B-52 bombers. Okay, but I'm always, like to say, about inspiring young folks like you. You may think like, oh, I'm grown. Yeah, you are, but you're young to me. You're young to Rabbi too. He won't tell you that, but he knows it. But anyway, but I did take that gift that the Almighty gave me, and I turned it around to something good and positive. I went about my work very meticulously. I was kind of at the cutting edge of a lot of the areas in the Air Force where I went. A lot of the things I did I wasn't supposed to do. Some people would deny it or not even acknowledge it because, you know, I was a black guy. Ain't no way I could be that smart. How could I be that, you know, accomplished, whatever. But see, I always laugh at things like that because I've developed quite a unique sense of humor. And a sense of humor will get you through a lot too. So don't be so downtrodden, low in spirits, whatever. Stay up. Stay up, my sister. Stay up, my brother. Stay up, my brother. Okay? Stay up. It's a lot to be excited about, a lot to be happy about. And you'll find out. As I was going through, you know, growing up in projects and everything else, and then going on through ROTC and getting into aviation, someone told me about a group called the Tuskegee Airmen. And, you know, me being very skeptical, I'm thinking, Tuskegee Airmen, what's that all about? These are a bunch of black guys who got together during World War II, and they were checked out to fly in airplanes. I'm thinking, wait. Where did they train to fly? Nobody's going to grant flying capabilities to a bunch of black guys back in the 1940s. That didn't make any sense. Oh, hey, you know, you don't believe that? Check this out. They trained in Alabama. Oh, yeah, right, yeah. You're like, okay, they got me. I found out it was true. Because see, when they were granted the ability to go ahead and fly airplanes, Congress did not want. How many of y'all saw the movie Red Tails? If you haven't seen it, you have to see that movie Red Tails. Some people don't even think that was true. They were holding back. They didn't tell the whole story. Red Tails. Yeah, Red Tails. And where they get the title Red Tails was I share a little operational secrets to you or with you. The reason why it's called Red Tails because you know why it's called Red Tails? Very good, very good. They painted the tail of the airplane red. One thing you'll notice about flying in combat, the last thing you ever want to do is draw attention to yourself. Because you got some people you don't even know shooting at you. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself. But the reason why they did that, they were not suicidal. A lot of their accomplishments were so great that a lot of the white flying units didn't believe it, didn't want to believe it, made stories up. That wasn't them, that was us. Yeah, boy. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. But anyway, so what they did is they went ahead and painted the tails of their airplanes red. So when the Germans gave reports back, I don't know who those guys were, but they shot us up, tore us up, beat us down, and all thing remember, they had red tails on their airplanes, Tuskegee Airmen. So that's something they couldn't take away. We know whenever you see these old World War II movies, some of y'all are just going way back. Whenever you see like the camera footage of the airplane shooting bullets, you know, out of a machine gun, those were the gun pods from the Tuskegee Airman's airplane. The other airplanes were never fit out like that. So I just want to let y'all know. So that's how heroic they were. You know, what with the escorted bombers, they never lost a bomber. And so if you saw the movie, you got to see the movie. Got to see the movie. You know, and you'll find out that toward the end of the war, the white units wanted Tuskegee Airmen to escort them. Because one thing about Tuskegee Airmen, they stayed in tight. They were very well disciplined. You see in the flying business, you got a bunch of pilots who are hot shots and everything else. I'll fall in that category. But anyway, they didn't want to go off like that and just be, you know, glorify themselves, do whatever. And as soon as the German airplanes would attack them, hey, let's go get them guys. Like, and that's what the Germans want you to do, because then the rest of the guys would come up here and shoot the bombers down. Tuskegee Airmen didn't do that. So the Germans knew they had a handful. So they weren't really ready for that. But those guys were, like I say, them guys were my heroes. And throughout my career, I continue to use them as an inspiration for the things that I did. Like some of y'all saw this badge right here, and you weren't close enough to see what it is. How many of y'all ever heard of the organization, Joint Chiefs of Staff? Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's the very top military organization in the land. Okay, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, all of them come under the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I got selected to go there at a very early age. Matter of fact, some people didn't believe it, they couldn't believe it. When I went there, out of 400 officers, there were 3 black officers there. I was one of them. You know, how many of y'all ever heard some other things I did in my career to show where that inspiration was? Show where the inspiration came from. How many of y'all ever heard of the Chernobyl incident? Chernobyl reactor blew up and spread radiation. Okay? Some people did not know what that was about, because the airline pilots were about to go on strike. The reason why the airline pilots were going to go on strike, because if you can imagine, a nuclear reactor blew up. It sent a plume of radiation into the atmosphere. One thing you may not know, in the northern hemisphere, which is where we are, the winds primarily blow from the west to the east. So if something blew up in Russia, it would eventually, well actually it's Kiev, you know, anyway, it would eventually get to the United States. The airline pilots were saying they did not want to be flying their airplanes, their air crews, in a passing through a radiation cloud. They were about to go on strike, and everybody thought they were going on strike to get more money. They didn't do it. They didn't want to fly through that radiation cloud. The thing that impressed them was no one seemed to know where the cloud was. Okay, so I'm gonna make this real snappy, real quick. We found the cloud, radiation cloud, about 200 miles out of the Pacific Ocean, about 30,000 feet. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions up to this point?
So, you said your dad was in the service also?
Yes, yes. My dad, he joined the military in World War II. Now, he was out of Western Virginia, and actually his home is Huntington, West Virginia. And he got drafted. So, you know, getting drafted wasn't that bad, you know, he made it. But he made Master Sergeant in 3 years, which is almost unheard of. But he was my inspiration too. Even with no education, none to speak of, he made it. And he had that same drive. See, he came out of the hills of West Virginia, okay? And he's similar to my mother. My mother was from the Pittsburgh area. Now he's from West Virginia area. She's from Pittsburgh. Her brothers and her dad were coal miners, okay? So it's one thing about that ethic. If you know anything about coal miners, they work hard. They work very hard. And the one thing that I didn't grow up with really internally was prejudice. I did not know prejudice. My mother was worried about it as I went through the world. She worried about me being confronted with prejudice, not being able to stand it. And I think I did all right. I think I did all right. So I just want to let you know that, like I said, they were an inspiration too. But my dad was going to talk about Tuskegee Airman, so I got a double bang of courage. You know, what I was going to say about the Chernobyl situation, we found that cloud. Like I say, about 200 miles out of the Pacific Ocean, 30,000 feet. The call sign of the airplane that found it was Santa 051, the B-52. Okay? When it encountered the cloud, it couldn't refuel, because you can't refuel a radioactive airplane, so they had to recover at another base. Some people ask me, how do you know all that about that? That's classified. It was classified. I was the project officer for that. So if you heard anything about that, as reported on CNN News, I was a project officer for that. The reason why I get a little choked up is because when it came time to get recognition and promotion to lieutenant colonel, the commander was really, basically, hey, let's keep it real. Y'all from New York, let's keep it real. He's redneck. He's redneck, straight up. I ain't gonna lie. Again, he took my report and locked it up, gave credit to this white fellow who was my boss, and that guy got promoted. And when I confronted him with it, because remember, I'm from the projects, right? You can take a kid out of the project, you can't take it. Y'all know the deal. Okay, so I confronted him. I said, I saw what you did. What's up, son? Okay, he said, okay, can you get over that? We thought you'd understand. No, I don't. That was my credit, whatever. And so I got denied promotion to lieutenant colonel because the other guy got promoted to lieutenant colonel. They didn't know nothing about nothing. They was about to get fired because the orders to fly against the radiation cloud came out of the Pentagon. Okay? They had no idea where it came from. Y'all ever seen the movie Godfather? You ever heard anything that made you an offer you can't refuse? I told them when it's time to go fly against this radiation cloud, these people that ask you, they're very nice, they ask you to fly, they don't ask anybody, they order you to fly. And the commander was about to say no. I said, I tell you what, you say no, tomorrow they're going to show up at the base. They will kidnap you, it's all going to be legal. And they're going to fly the mission anyway. So it's best you go ahead and go along with it. They didn't even know, they didn't I had to tell them because of my experience at the Pentagon. But my career was full of things like that, but I just kept on thinking to myself, still I rise. I want y'all to feel that same way. No matter what your circumstance is, no matter who you are, no matter what your circumstance is, you meet some adversity, keep in mind, still I rise. Still I rise. And that kept me going. So yeah, for the Tuskegee Airman, I give them mad props. I really encourage it. If I had the money, like I say, I'd be like Uncle Wimpy, you get a copy of Red Tails and you get a copy of Red Tails because I'm just that serious about it, but you gotta get that. Okay, that's kind of in capsule. I don't want to keep you all long. I know you all got some traveling to do, and I promised Rabbi that I wouldn't do that. But any questions? I know I kind of glossed over a lot of stuff. And I try not to get off into war stories, but we'll be here for a while. You said, no, it won't. Okay, I got you. I feel you. But any questions anybody have concerning the experience? Yes, ma'am.
Speak louder.
Okay, the educational benefits? Okay, it's something called the GI Bill. And they call it the Montgomery GI Bill or something or other else. But what it is, if you did the service, then you accrue certain benefits. As an example, my bachelor's degree is from Howard University in Washington, D.C. My master's degree is from Texas A&M. Texas A&M, y'all heard of Texas A&M. I didn't pay a penny for the master's degree. The military in that situation took care of it. I wanted to go and get my PhD, but some other things were happening. Like I said, we're trying to get some things straight. Me and my wife, we're trying to get some things squared away. So I had to go ahead and just take the time with that PhD. My bad. Well, we tend to sort it. But anyway, so. But yeah, educational benefits are out there. If you want to go buy a house, they got some really we're talking about crazy type stuff out there to give you. There's little or no interest to be paid, whatever. So those benefits are there. So if you want to go for a military career, there's certain benefits for you. Certainly. Okay, you want to look back and say, wow, wasting my time. Yes, sir.
So when you got the promotion, when you didn't get the promotion, whatever the case may be, did you and you confronted the person who promoted the other person, did you continue to fight after that in any way, shape, or form, or resist and stop that from happening in the future to other black men?
I can feel where you're coming from. But no, the question was, did I have any animosity? Well, of course I did. I ain't crazy. But what I'm saying is I contained that because I knew it's going to be a better thing for me. As a matter of fact, you ever heard of the Band of Brothers as far as the military?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Band of Brothers. You know how I knew that report got locked up? White dude. If he walked in now, you swear he's a skinhead. I mean, he's an Air Force captain, but who wears white sidewalls with a crew cut? I mean, come on, man. But he's my best buddy. He and I, we were beefing these two crew members together, and he told me, he said, hey man, I need to, Major Davis need to run by my office. I said, what's going on? I said, okay, So I got over to the office and said, we're going to step outside. I said, also, it's like that, we're going to step outside. He said, no, I got something to tell you. Oh, okay. See, I'm ready to slow down. I'm sorry. I'm ready to get belligerent. But I got to say. But yeah, but I can tell you.
You contain yourself and you decide to drop the issue.
I turned it into something else. Because
Did you
when I
ever get
left
promoted
there,
after that?
I became a branch chief or a commander of a unit that prepares air crews to go to nuclear war. That's the way to put it. They have 32 similar units in the world. We have an inspection once a year by the Strategic Air Command Inspection Team. They're tough. I mean, you might as well go to war to face those guys. When I retired, they told me at a 30. Somebody else?
Did you work with the female pilots? And was there on the Mossy who told us
That was what?
Did you work with any female pilots?
Yeah. Okay, her question was, did I work with any female pilots? Yeah, I sure did. As a matter of fact, when they came on board, no, it wasn't like that. Come on, brother. It wasn't like that, man. Yeah, that's it. Well, it wasn't that tight. And it was totally unfounded, like, man, it's kind of bizarre, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were about to get on the airplane, and the female pilot came to get on the airplane, and this woman, Lieutenant Colonel, this rather seasoned gentleman. Anyway, he wanted to get off the airplane. Oh my God, a female pilot. I can't fly on this airplane. What's up, son? I can say that. But I'm just saying, you know, like, what's going on? I mean, we're gonna be all right. But that was the way they were received. But now, we have female pilots now. You would know it, Lieutenant Colonel Tingsdahl. You all remember U-2 spy plane? Okay. U-2 spy plane flies at about 70,000 feet. And it is, if you ever see it, it looks weird because it has long wings. It's like a glider. The last 2 hours of its flight, it flies without a motor running. It runs out of gas, but it's a glider. Okay, it flies at the edge of space. One of the pilots is Lieutenant Colonel Tingsdahl, which kind of a serious name for a sister. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but that's her name. Yeah, so yeah, she flies that. We've had female fighter pilots. As a matter of fact, the young lady that was in that civilian airplane, that she saved the airplane, she was a fighter pilot. You know, a white young lady, but you know, sister was strong for real.
What's the name of the plane you said?
Say again?
What's the name of the type of plane or
What the spy plane?
It's a spy plane?
Yeah, U-2. It's a U-2 spy plane.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. You can look that up. Lieutenant Colonel Tingsdahl, T-I-N-G-E-S-D-A-H-L, Tingsdahl.
Did you go to the Air Force